Okay, it's a pleasure to welcome all of you back. So my job is quite easy. One of the few joys in academia is when you have PhDs complete and are about to complete and so on and so forth, because you are able to track their journeys. So today I have a rare opportunity. I'm going to introduce Samar, who all of you have already met. She's my current PhD, who's going to introduce my very first PhD student. And so the whole loop will be connected now. So with that, for you, Samar. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I guess it's a privilege for me to connect with Kevin's first PhD student. So let me have the honor to introduce Dr. Peter Baloh. Dr. Peter Baloh is the founder and partner in E2Grow, network of 110 plus companies across the world that solve organizations' most pressing problems, their ability to unleash people potential and continually and rapidly grow. Today, to great success, he and his associates across the world have worked with multinationals like Pfizer, AbbVie, Kyowa Kirin, Electrolux, Honeywell, Migros, Virgin Money, Unity Trust, eBay, and hundreds of startups. He has conducted over 100 consulting assignments and has published over 30 papers in leading journals and 24 books. His work focuses on how to make information systems and technology better blended, adopted, and leveraged to create high-performing individuals, teams, and organizations. He was tenured associate professor at School of Economics and Business, University of Ljubljana, and at IEDC Bled Business School when he decided to leave academia and join the industry full-time in 2010. From 2010 to 2014, he was executive member of the board in a quick-growing company, Bisol, which was one of the 5 world companies that enabled global commercialization and commoditization of solar panels and home solar power plants. Going from undergraduate studies to industry, back to academia, then to the industry, and finally to the science-driven business working with some of the most demanding companies in the world is a journey that Peter has loved and cherished, while collecting a wealth of experience from both worlds, industry and academia. In his keynote, he'll be sharing 3 most important elements to success he discovered in this journey. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Peter.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. And whoa, thanks for this introduction. No pressure, right? Yeah, I mean, on the serious side, and maybe on a more funny side, I was in your shoes about 14 years ago. And I just feel it for you, the sympathy, the admiration, the appreciation, and yeah, maybe perhaps my condolences as well, if Kevin is your supervisor. Just kidding, of course. So on the serious side, I know it's tough, the journey you're in. It's never ending. It seems never ending. It's frustrating at times. I still remember, I think that was one of my most stressful sort of periods in my life, I would say. You know, you never know where you actually are and so on. So I just, you know, it's you who we should be appreciating today. But just, you know, in hindsight, there's so much more to come, I think, and harvest than what might be obvious. So obviously getting your PhD degree is the goal, the obvious goal. But as I said, there's so much more, I think, to look forward to and really harvest in the future. And this is something that I would like to sort of talk or discover today, maybe with you together. I'm sure you guys know, many of you know Dilbert and his PhD series, and this cartoon, this little picture is one that felt quite appropriate for today's talk. I'll just let this sink in for 30 seconds. And what I think the message would be today, right? Don't despair. And the goal of my address today is to flush this one down the sink as well, and maybe just add a few cents, 5 cents that I'll share today, that will add obviously a little piece of the puzzle of how to end up as a way better version, as a way better person, as a way better professional, with a PhD. So, not letting us PhDs, not letting the PhD sink us somewhere in the incompetent world, but quite the opposite. And there were quite a lot, and there is quite a lot that the PhD studies and the whole process gave me, and that's something that I would like to discover maybe, or unleash today. And I was kind of stuck when Kevin asked me to tell this and how did I leverage my PhD studies to that industry success, because who I am to give this advice, and would that be relevant? And obviously what success is, and my worry was increased by that little fact that I'm aware that I'm at the very giving this kind of thing, right? I'm at the very thin. I'm aware of that very thin rope which opens a cage in which the advice monster lives, right? No one wants to be told what to do or what others have done, but maybe use this. I'm a coach, so we do it. We unleash people potential and really try to maximize people's performance through a reflection and through questions and so on. So I would say, maybe use this. Let's do this as a discussion, and I'll ask a few questions in the meantime, and just maybe use those as a reflection on where you are at the moment, and maybe do these questions raise some energy in you and inspire you. So in very orderly fashion, when I was trying to do this, right, how to create this, and that was influenced obviously again by my PhD training, I wanted to ask myself first what success actually was, right, just to see what I should be addressing in this speech. And I was obviously also hugely worried because there's only about 3 people out of 10 today that thrive. That was covered in the recent Gallup 2020 World Survey. So 7 out of 10 are struggling or suffering in their lives. Meaning, right, that if I give ill advice here, I might be the one contributing to it, which is certainly something I did not want to do. So with this in mind, I was after findings that were at least somewhat generalizable to you as well, that would matter, that would be valid. And I must disclaim, this is a design science type of work, what I'm going to present. The findings are rooted in a scientific framework, let's say, of success. And then I created a model of, and then tested it and validated it through several interventions. Basically, it's a longitudinal case study of myself. Now, just to explain the scope here, I'm showing you this quality of life ladder. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but what is success? And there's 2 questions I would like you to consider right now. The first one being, on which step of the ladder would you say you personally feel you stand at this time in this ladder representing best possible life, right? So on which step of the ladder would you say you personally feel you stand at this time, and rate it from 0 to 10 in your mind. And then on which step of the ladder do you think you will stand about 5 years from now? Again, 0 from 10. And just curious, how did you do? You don't need to answer it. You can answer it maybe in the chat later over the drinks, with the other people in the room. But there's overwhelming research, and it's been done for about 80 years now, that people that answer, present life anywhere from 7 upwards, right, means you're thriving. Anywhere from 8 upwards for the future life, it means you're sort of hoping and inspired, and you see the future there. Now, even more important than this, right? So use this as an opportunity sort of to reflect and just see, okay, where am I at now, right now? How would I answer this? Now, the best part is obviously, as always, right? What do I do with this? right? How can I use this, and how can I improve myself? And what all the studies show, there's obviously different elements of that success. So if I'm trying to explain today, how did I use my PhD to get to the industry success or to the success, I think this is important to know. But what's really, really interesting is that obviously thriving and well-being, right? There's 5 sort of areas. There, depending on the research that you take, but this sort of wraps it up really nicely. So there's 5 areas in which you can thrive, or we should be thriving, and the more we thrive in each of those, right, the more we feel about those, the better we feel as a person. But what's really important, the highlighted piece of the puzzle, is the career thriving, right? Liking what you do every day. This is something that has changed recently, very recently. So it's the first time in the history that in 2020 study, which has been done, as I said, for decades now, that the career well-being, liking what I do every day. So the element is I need to feel great at the job. So I want to have a great job, not just a good job. So that's something, the element that has changed just now in the present time that we live. So that's why, and it all starts sort of from there. The career well-being defines our purpose, our creation, where we bring value. So that's why it's so super important to talk about this, because it influences obviously all the other aspects. If I feel that I'm bringing some contribution, that I feel cherished and so on, this is where that my sort of thriving starts. Now, how did my PhD help me get there? My journey, Samar already presented very nicely. So I started my career in the industry. I always wanted to be a consultant, and I started with Deloitte. I woke up one day in a hotel room, and I did not know in which country I was in. So I got to go down to the reception lobby and ask, where did I wake up? And it wasn't any partying. It was just burnout, complete burnout. So I got my sort of things together and just handed in my resignation the next day when I was flying into Ljubljana. Then I went to PhD, did my academic tenure. I was always on 2 sides, sort of. One was the sort of the academic look and things, right? And then at the same time, I was doing lots of consulting in change management work with Microsoft, mostly in their sort of global assignments. But what was really interesting was that I was doing great things there, and I quite enjoyed it. But then something struck me, and then I just went full-time into the industry. It was the impact that was lagging. It was not too quick, sort of, in a way, for me. Even though with Kevin, I worked many great things, and we worked with businesses and so on. It was just that sort of waiting for people to appreciate the academic work was something that was getting into me, and I was like, okay, I need to do something else for a little while. So I'm now in the industry, but what I was trying to say, getting there, and there was ups and downs working with full-time industry, like a manufacturing company, Bisol, and then I was in Brisbane, so I spent a good year with my family in living in Ascot and working with Data3. Met some great people there and so on. But then I just realized at Data3 that what I want to do and where my purpose is finding that. And then I found that spot is like, okay, I need to change how people do and live and work inside the organizations. So that's what we do now. We are one of the only 3 companies in the world that have partnered with Gallup, that are partners, that we have this unique status. We're the only digital platform that uses Gallup worldwide platform that uses Gallup IP to do stuff. And what's really most important is that we are producing impact with some great companies, and we truly love what we do in a way, especially because we are working with clients that have tried the same thing, really a difficult one, changing an organizational culture, and we have sort of succeeded, and we are working with those kind of companies that have tried it before once or twice, they failed, and then they're ready sort of for us, because we have quite a unique way of behavioral engineering. It's digitally supported, along with the whole process of how do you get people to change behaviors, mindsets, and so on in a huge company, in the system, which is quite difficult to do. Now, the really important stuff, where I want to talk about, share a few things, is, so what's the secret sauce, and what was the generalizable sort of thing that I got from the PhD studies and that you can get right now, and sort of that I built or inherited through my PhD studies. So it's these three elements: the team, impact, and the courage. So these three, I think it's something that is so uniquely doable and buildable sort of through your PhD process, that it truly is something of a unique value that you can get, and that you should maybe really have, in your mind, and purposely build it, because it's almost impossible sort of to build in such a quick time anywhere else. So in such a short time, basically of 3, 4, 5 years maybe, and it's something that is truly important when you want to go to the industry, when you want to, whatever you do, basically, for whole of your career well-being. As I said, right, it can be in academia, it can be anywhere, it can be industry, it can be startup. These are the things that you will need and will truly enable your success. Now, the team bit. I think team is everything. There's no way you can achieve big things alone. There's no one thing today that was probably built by just one person. So having that in mind, and I know that's kind of curious, and that maybe it's interesting that I've understood the importance of a team and its relation to success while at PhD studies, because by definition, right, PhD is a sole undertaking. You're in there alone, usually, right? You are the one that needs to, you alone, you as an individual, you need to produce something new, something unique. Right, it's interesting how did I make that connection there? And I think it was the ups and downs in the PhD process that got me realize this, how important the team bit is. On one side, I was almost, in 2005, I was ready to drop my PhD studies. So I started it. I was 3, 4, 5 months in. And I was doing it at the University of Salford in UK. And there I was just alone, right? I came from Ljubljana, basically got this scholarship. I knew no one there. The supervisor was new to me. Their studies were completely different. So I was not working with anyone. I was just sitting in my room and having one meeting, per month, basically with a supervisor. And she wanted me to do gender studies. And I was like, oh no, what's this, right? Gender studies in information systems. And I knew that was not going to go anywhere near my sort of preferences, me being really, how can I apply this in industry, whatever I learn and so on. So in 4 months, I saw I was not going to get anywhere. I was ready to drop. And there was this one last thing that I went. There was a conference in North Carolina where I met Kevin. We had this open conversation. I thought he was a PhD student. Formally he was, but he was also a keynote speaker at the conference. I was there for this person, to meet him, to meet this person. And I never realized it was him who's going to be the keynote speaker. I was expecting this old guy having hundreds of papers already by then. I was expecting this old guy, and I was chatting with this Kevin that I met, right? This fellow. I thought he was my fellow student, fellow PhD student. And it was just, oh my God, when I realized he was the keynote speaker, because I was challenging him in a way in the discussion, like how everything should be applicable, how can we create more impact in the industry and so on. And then I was like, oh no, what did I do, right? I missed that opportunity. And then it was completely the other way around. We enjoyed that conversation. And then, long story short, in 3 months' time, I did quit that PhD in the UK and started working under, writing a PhD under Kevin's supervision. But what really struck me was that was still one-on-one relationship, right? But then suddenly this guy comes, Kevin, right? And he says, let's do something on innovation. I was like, what do you mean innovation? There's about 1 million papers out there that have dealt with innovation. Who's going to read this? And I'm telling you, many did, right? So Kevin created this team of about, initially, I think about 6 people. All PhD students, we created about 15 papers in, published about 15 papers in about 2 years or so, and worked with companies like Mattel, Microsoft, Google, Boeing. That ideas for innovation team was unstoppable. And that completely changed my view of publishing, research, and best things are never done solo, right? Now, just for your consideration, think about for that, team aspect, to what extent on a scale, let's say 0 to 10, do you think you have a team? So think about for yourself. So that's my team here. Little guy is coming here. It's okay. So I just asked him to go to watch a cartoon. But anyway, to what extent on a scale 0 to 10 do you think you have a team that you can work with, that you can produce something with? If that's anywhere, under 7, 8, or 9, do talk to your, do have a talk with yourself and think about, okay, what it is that you can do. There's some ideas right now. What does that mean? And there's some rules in a team engagement, which obviously apply then to the industry as well, that I learned back then. And that's something that, being a team member, understanding what makes a team work, that's something that I got right there from Kevin and that team. So everyone left. We checked our egos at the door. We were all on the same mission. We had this clear goal. Everyone was truly valued. So we amplified what people were best at. That's something that doesn't happen really often in teams today. I've worked with about 5,000 teams in the last 10 years. And I'm telling you, it's so rare that it's creepy. But really true, how can I amplify each other and what really the other's contributions will be and are, and asking, right, what everyone is contributing to that main big goal. That's something really important, aligning around that. We had these weekly milestones, right? Speed of creation is important and is possible with the team. And what's really, really interesting was, and what Kevin also created, was these duos, where we were working maybe across continents even, but it was truly important for 2, 3 people together to work on small things that were a meaningful step towards the end goal, and that we worked together on a really rapid pace. In a week's time, we were producing, this section of a paper, 2 or 3 of us together, which built trust, which built also speed. And in that sense, right, having that kind of a team, trusting each other and really amplifying each other, only then 1 + 1 truly equals 3 or 10. And that gives us the speed, the courage, and basically that you can do something big, or that you cannot, do anything big on your own, period. And that takes me to number 2, the impact, right? The impact, what is to succeed in industry or anywhere, there is this, you have to have a unique value proposition. Now, that ability to offer something uniquely is extremely important, right? Everyone is telling this, what's your UVP, what's your minimum viable proposition, and so on. But what we are really capable of, and what you will be trained, and you are being trained in this process, is that that perseverance to find uniqueness is something that the PhD process is giving us. There's no harsher boot camp that can prep you basically for that ability of finding your unique position than the PhD process and that publishing thing. Because the PhD is, by definition, right, something unique in the world that you are bringing to the science. So in that sense, right, how we articulate things, how do we look at things, how do we compartmentalize things, how do we systemize them, it's truly unique. In that sense, right, having someone to read it, to consume that, is unique, right? What we do as or what we have the ability to do as PhDs. And again, now, right, for the impact from 0 to 10, where do you think you are at the moment? Do you have something unique to propose? Do you have? Are you? Do you know someone is listening? I do know that PhD is purposely narrowing you down, right? You're only touching a little bit, a little small, however big piece of particular science, let's say, or you're advancing the theory or bringing something new, but you are bringing something new, and that's something that no one can take you away, right? No one can take that away. So in that sense, right, being able to articulate and listening and being adaptable and being agile in when we're getting response from the networks, from the reviewers, from supervisors, from clients. If you work on a typical, let's say, or in the industry as cases or something like this, it's really important. And just going through that hundreds of times, refining the value proposition is super important, and that will give you that resilience and ability basically to create something new, which is truly important. And again, here the learnings, the impact, right? I never thought we can write something on innovation because everything was written on innovation, and then suddenly we had companies like Boeing, Mattel, Microsoft, and so on in that Ideas for Innovation project led by Kevin, listening to us. Because we did say, yeah, there has been so much things written on it, right? But still, you struggle today. And it's the same thing. I used the same approach I used today in Need to Grow. There are McKinsey, so all the big companies, all the companies, they want to be sort of, consulting companies want to be in that organizational culture changing space, but no one is succeeding. Truly, there's so many cases, there's hundreds, literally. I meet 2-3 CEOs per week that have failed how to change culture. And that was what, on one side was like, okay, we can never do it. But on the other side, I was so inspired by what we've done in the past that, yeah, you can do it. Right? If you look at it from the right side, if you listen, and that crafting that unique value proposition is then even easier, because then you can say, okay, everyone is doing it wrong in a way, right? And this is the way we do see yield success. And that ability going through a PhD is important, truly important. Here with the impact, right? One thing that I should also mention quickly is this one, delivery bit. So, you could be saying it. There's so many startups today claiming they are, let's say, solving some particular issue, but in a way, right, the nitty-gritty detail of actually delivering the expected is then, changing or, truly propelling you into the success or not, right? So either then you fail because you have not delivered what's expected, either you will succeed because you have. And now here again, the PhD, right? What we do have is that systematic approach of, okay, let's tackle this research problem, and then going through the whole design process. How do I do the research to prove or to, discard something? And that's something we are getting trained in. You are getting trained in. And again, in the delivery side of it, right? This is truly important. So deliver what you, in the industry, deliver what you promise, and then success is here. There's no way you cannot succeed then, because there will be people, clients wanting that. And in that sense, right, just being, really intentional and purposeful, and designing then the interventions or designing the outcomes is something that we uniquely do have from that being PhD trained, basically. And yeah, the heart, right? Super important. Just love what you're doing. Love that purpose. Love the solution, and then everything is changed. The courage, the final one, the quick one. You have already shown tremendous amount of courage going into a PhD, because it is a frustrating experience for most of people. Rarely I've spoken to a PhD student that he or she would not be stuck somewhere. And PhD, by definition, by the way it's designed, is building your courage. You have to present all the time. You have to get feedback. You finally find something, and then you already have to give it out to the world, like, semi-done. Someone might steal it. That was my, fear always. Like, okay, someone will steal whatever idea I'm getting out of this to do. I'm giving out to the world. Now here, there's one thing that I did have to learn, and I did learn through the PhD, is that iterating till you drop, right? So that courage, just to, say it out loud and then just listen. The feedbacks, right? Many times there will be negative feedbacks, there will be rejections for the papers, for everything. But that is just giving you, I think, that resilience, emotional resilience. In the industry, this happens all the time. I get 3 no's probably per week by the clients, right? No, we're not going to work with you, even though, Mr. Consultant, you have presented, and we've went through a 6-month journey of creating this case. But no, we're not going to work with you because something has changed. And that's just, it's okay. It's not us. It's also them. There's so many other ones that we can work with. But what was truly important, I think, and this is also something that I learned in that PhD with working with Kevin, was that just giving out the world and talking, giving out the models that we produced and so on. It's never a threat. It's just a showcase that you are delivering something, you're working on something, and it's not the something that you write that you're that's taking the value away. Something that you write is actually building your value, and that capability of delivering value is important. So if you stay in academia, right, the next university will not hire you for your past work. They might, of course, but that's an indication of how you will, what's the stream of research that you can publish in the future. And again, it's the same with the companies, right? Something that you do and you showcase maybe as success cases, or when you talk about this, right? Yes, the adversaries, the competition will know it, will hear it. But on the other side, it's also, and the most important is that capability of delivering that value, right? Can you, right? Is that something that you write about, the commercialization aspect, right? Is that hurting the commercialization or not? And that, I think, truly is not hurting that commercialization aspect, right? Just go out, do those risks, right? Take those risks, jump those risks, and just present to the world what you have to, what you do know, because only then people will start listening. You'll create networks, which are truly important, and it's something that you can do right now with your peers, with your team that you're building, for example, in your mind, right? It's something invaluable, and that is making you invincible at the end. With that, those 3 elements, as I said, the team, the courage, the impact, I would conclude this, maybe open it up for a question or two. I would conclude with 3 questions from me to you, maybe to think about, to linger, to discuss, to make some steps, depending on what you answered in the beginning, right? The quality, where's that ladder? What's the step of the ladder you're at? But think about who is your team, right? Who's your team today? Who could be your team as well tomorrow? Who do you enjoy working with, right? Who do you trust? Overlapping the passion, right? Overlapping passion, and then complementing the skills or what people contribute. That's the best sort of recipe for success, and start building a team. It might not be the team that you're going to work with in 5 years or 10 years time, just like with me, right? I went through 2, 3 different teams that were truly thriving and working. But yeah, my current team is who I have today, and this is the people that I completely trust. But still, the process of building and going through that team building experience and creating something together is invaluable. So who's your team? And then what's your vision of impact? What it is that you are currently have or see that you can bring to the world? Which stakeholders benefit uniquely? So start working on that, giving it out to the world, and listening. And then articulating that this is what we bring, this is our unique value. And then as a courage, right, maybe just an inspiration, what's the next uncomfortable step you've avoided so far, or you've successfully avoided recently? And what do you want to achieve? How can your team and networks help you? So what's the next uncomfortable step you've avoided so far, but you can do right now? And these 3, let's just use this as an inspiration or opening. If there's any questions and comments, I would truly be grateful if if we could discuss those also live. But we'll just stick with this way because we're stuck in our rooms.
You know what? That's actually a great segue. Actually, I was going to say I'm ready to go with questions and here, and also to say an amazing thank you for the amazing presentation you've provided with us, Peter. At this time, we're going to take just a few quick questions to make sure we're still on time and on track. Maybe I can take one question really quick. Does anybody have a burning question we want to go through really quick before we transition? Yeah, there's a clap. Okay, well, we'll take an applause then. Thank you very, very much, Peter. I'm sure we got lots of emailed questions to you. I greatly appreciate you going through, and I like the idea of building your team. You might not be with that team forever, but you've got a team that you start off with, and you start a tribe, and then your tribe changes as you develop. So thank you very much, and also thank you very much from America to broadcasting. I know that the time difference, this is potentially not the most ideal time to be awake, to be doing a presentation to a whole bunch of Australians. We're all creaming on our coffees, but I imagine you probably have a pile in front of you. So thank you very, very much.
Thanks for having me. And yes, do drop an email or connect me via LinkedIn. Maybe I have some secrets how to work with Kevin.
Ooh, there we go. Some secrets on how to work with Kevin.
Yes.
I don't know if I see Kevin smiling yet, so be careful. Watch your email box. So might be exploding emails there.
All right.
Perfect. So
thanks,
at this
guys.
time,
have a great day.
Thank you.